So allow me to introduce Mr. Paul Boyles. Paul is an executive coach and trainer who is highly talented human resources professional with a broad range of experience in manufacturing, service industries, hospitality, and government. Paul holds a BS degree in business management from the University of Scranton. As an executive coach and trainer, he specializes in leadership development for all levels of businesses and organizations. With over 35 years of practical experience, Paul's passion to help others grow is a clear benefit of working with him. He possesses professional HR certifications, SHRM, SCP, and SPHR, whatever that means. Additionally, he is certified John Maxwell coach, speaker and trainer, and a certified trainer for John Gordon Company. He resides in Maryville with his wife, Tricia. They have one daughter, Alana, and one grandchild. Please help me welcome Mr. Paul Boyles.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate that. Thank you to the Rotary. Thank you to Lena for having me here. I really appreciate the opportunity. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about positive leadership, and this comes from a best-selling book by John Gordon, The Power of Positive Leadership. If you're not familiar with John, he's written about 30 books about leadership and really about life, in all honesty. And I'll tell you a real quick story about him. I got to meet him last April. I went to a 2-day certification program over in Charlotte. He, his wife, his children were there. There's about 100 of us in the room. And at one point he said, how many of you have received a call from me? Raise your hand. And about half the crowd raised their hand. I didn't raise my hand because I hadn't gotten a call. And I thought, well, why didn't I get a call, right? And he says, for those of you that I haven't called yet, when you get this call from this number, don't think it's spam. It's going to be me calling you to talk to you a little bit. And I kind of left there. It was a Friday afternoon, and he had told us he was going to Vegas that weekend for a speaking engagement. I thought, I may not hear from this guy for months. I may never hear from him. Well, that Monday evening, 6 o'clock, my phone rings. I look at the area code and I thought, that's John Gordon. He says, Paul, this is John Gordon. How you doing? I said, I'm doing fine, sir. And he talks to me about for 20 minutes. How do things go at the certification? What do you think? What suggestions do you have, etc. And then he and I had talked about something privately, and he brought that up. He said, how's that going? I want to find out what you're doing. What are your next steps, etc. And I thought to myself, if he's in a room with 100 people, and he could remember the conversation he and I had, which was maybe 7 minutes long, he's pretty impressive. So I'm impressed with the man. He's a good guy. But I want to tell you a little bit about me as well today. So this is my wife. This is a date night. Took her shooting. First time she ever held a gun. It's a romantic date, guys. It really is. First time she ever held a gun in her life, and she did this right at me. I said, no, please don't do that, right? Another date night, went out for drinks. We did not go drinking and then shooting. I didn't do that. I'm not that stupid, right? And then my daughter and son-in-law, and we're lucky, we're blessed. They're back here in Knoxville. They moved back from Pennsylvania back in July, so we're thrilled to have her here in West Knox. And then now what my daughter is our official first grand dog, a little puppy named Tenny, for Tennessee, of course. And then my wife and I have a dog. His name is Benji. He looks cute and nice. He's not very nice. He's not the friendliest dog on earth. He likes my wife, my daughter, and then me, probably in that order, and really nobody else after that. Okay? So I show my wife all my slides before I do a presentation. I ask her for her opinion. She gives me very candid, honest feedback. I showed her this, and she said, honey, really, I'm number one? I said, dear, after 30 years of marriage, who else could it be? What else could it be, right? I didn't show her this part. That dog thinks he's number one. He thinks he's the king of the house. But he doesn't know. He's been knocked off the throne because about a year ago, we got a little granddaughter, right? A little grandbaby. She's a cutie. She's a good one, right? But she doesn't know. She's got to make room for some more because my daughter's expecting again. But this time, it's identical twin boys coming our way. And we found out this week they're coming a little quicker than we thought. So pray for us, please. Right? My background, my experience, always in human resources. I've never done anything else. 13 years in the supermarket industry, 7 years in hospitality, 5 years in state government, and then 23 years in manufacturing. And then about 3.5, almost 4 years ago, I launched my own business. And what I do now is I provide customized employee training programs for companies, organizations, associations, and I also do one-to-one coaching for individuals, helping them grow and become better leaders. So I'll tell you a little bit about positive leadership. We're going to talk today about 2 things on this wheel: leading with optimism, positivity, and belief, and conform and transform and remove negativity. So think about 3 positive words, and you have a fill in the blank sheet at your table if you want to fill in the blank or follow along or take it with you today. But think about 3 positive words that people use to describe you. And I want you to share them with someone sitting at your table that's next to you. 3 positive words that folks use to describe you. Share it with your neighbor, please. All right. If you can't think of 3, I'm glad you're here, right? Now, it's important, it really is. Give you some hints just in case. Let me ask you, why does positive leadership matter? Why does it make a difference? Just shout it out for me. What do you think? Why does positive leadership even matter in today's workplace? Anybody? Lead by example. Retention. What other factors? Why does it matter? Morale, productivity. There's a lot of good reasons to worry about or be concerned with positive leadership. In fact, there's about 25 years of hard research that shows and tells us there's reasons to do this, right? This is not just pie in the sky or fluff thinking. There's data to support this from very reputable firms that have done some research and analysis of this. I show this up here, and you probably can't read it very well, but there's 2 things up there, a negative leader and a positive leader. And of course, we all want to be that positive leader. We want to work for or with a positive leader. It's important. The thing that surprises most folks in that positive leader category or list, one of the things it says is that they're demanding, right? They set expectations for their folks and they hold them accountable, right? So when I see that word demanding, a lot of people think it's negative. It's not really meant or intended to be negative, okay? So, and I can't share these slides with you because they're licensed content, but I have other resources that if you want, you can reach out to me and I can email them to you. So positive leaders, they lead with optimism, positivity, and belief, right? They always find a way forward. You know, in today's workplace, in today's associations, there's always challenges, there's always hurdles, there's always things to get around. But a good leader, a positive leader, will always figure out a way to overcome that, surpass it, and achieve the goals we're trying to get. And the bottom line, though, is that if you don't have it within you, you cannot share it, right? I can't pour from an empty cup, right? With the analysis of the starving baker, he's so busy baking for the whole village, he forgets to feed himself, right? So what are ways that you can feed yourself positivity? What are things that you can do for self-care to make you become a better and more positive leader? Anybody, just curious what your thinking is. Ways that you can be pouring into yourself.
10 Rotary on Tuesday.
A 10 Rotary, that's a great one. It really is, right? It's important to network and connect with other professionals, other folks. What else?
Exercise.
Exercise, absolutely. What else?
Adequate sleep.
Adequate sleep, absolutely. In today's world, that's really important. Anything else?
Look for ways to help others.
Look for ways to help others. And when I'm giving to someone else, I forget about all my problems or most of my problems, right? And it helps to see that I'm having a positive impact. One more. Diet. Watch what you're eating. Absolutely. I need to do that. I need to be better at that, right? So there's ways. We got to take care of ourselves in order to give to others. That's what the bottom line is. We have these 2 dogs inside of ourselves. This happy-go-lucky dog, optimistic, friendly, wags his tail, and then the other one is barking at us all the time, right? Negative, cynical, etc. Which one does better? The one we feed the most, right? So I want to feed that positive dog as much as I possibly can. Any ideas what this might signify? E plus P equal O. E. Anybody? Energy, good guess, great guess. What else though? Positivity. Let's get the E down first, right? Energy, no. Michael? Empathy. How about events, right? And what we're gonna say is, we cannot control the events necessarily in our life. The employee who calls in sick, the employee who quits, the competitor who moves across the street from us. There's not much we can do to control those particular situations, right? How about P? Any ideas on P? If we know we're talking about events, positivity, good guess. Planning, no, I'm sorry, yeah. Perspective, right? And that's something we can control. The way we look at situations, the way we look at and address things that come across us or come to us makes a big difference. My perspective can either become my passport, right, take me anywhere I want to go, or it can become my prison and have me stuck somewhere forever, okay? And they all lead to events, perspective equals outcome, absolutely, absolutely. So I get to drive the outcome. And if I have a good perspective, a healthy, positive perspective, I'm gonna have a better outcome every time, okay? So how I see the world determines the world you see. Do I have rose-colored glasses on or dark-colored glasses, right? It all comes down to that. Think about self-talk, right? We talk to ourselves and tell us things that we cannot do or things that we cannot accomplish or that we cannot strive for. So it all comes down to self-talk. There's a doctor, Dr. James Gills, in his 50s, he has run or accomplished 6 double-man Ironman triathlons, right? 6. 2 of them back to back. Anybody know what a double-man Ironman triathlon is? Running, biking, swimming, right? Incredible distance, all within 17 hours. It's got to be accomplished, right? To do 2 of them back to back. And his last one, he did it at age 59 years old. And he says, he accomplishes this or attributes it to his ability to talk to himself, right? Not listen to what his head is trying to tell him, but talk to himself and convince him he can accomplish what he sets out to do. So it's all mindset. Think about athletic teams, professional sports teams that tell their players, hey, I don't want you looking at social media before the big game because I don't want to get it in your head. Don't look at social media after the big game because I don't want that getting in your head either, right? They pay tons of money for sports psychologists to help their players and move forward. So it's a big thing. Self-talk makes a big difference. Good example for me is traffic. I travel either the Alcoa Highway or the Pelican Parkway probably 3 days a week. And it's hit or miss, right? Some days you fly right through and other days you're sitting there bumper to bumper, whether it's construction or just traffic, whatever it might be. It's all the mindset though. So when I'm going bumper to bumper, I think about the podcast that I get to listen to a little bit longer than I would have. Or I think about maybe there's an accident up ahead and thank God it's not me in that accident, whatever it might be. So it's all mindset. It's what I tell myself and what I convince myself of. And shifting your mind or reframing things is important. It's used a lot in mental health and therapy, but it could be used in the workplace just as it is in therapy. Taking a look at the situation, figuring out how can I make this better? What can I do with it? How can I achieve more with it? And then leadership is a transfer of belief. And what he's saying here is, what we're saying here is that how we come across as a leader to our team makes all the difference. So you want to think about ways that you can show your team you believe in them, right? And on the fill in the blank, there's some spots that are fill in some ideas, but I would encourage you to do that. And I'll give you a great example from real life for me. I worked in a manufacturing facility. We made porcelain tile, ceramic tile. We had, and to make tile, you have presses. This sounds kind of funny, but we actually pressed the tile into the size, the shape, the thickness that's needed. And at the time, we had 2 presses, right? These presses are manufactured in Italy by a manufacturer that really has the market locked up. They take anywhere from 6 months to a year to build. They're always custom made, etc. Well, one day we had a fire in one of the presses, and it was pretty significant. It destroyed the press, right? We had 2 presses. That was half our capacity gone at that point. Our plant manager, and we all thought we were dead in the water, but this is going to be a problem. How are we going to survive this? This is a long-term thing. We're not going to go for 6 months or a year, etc. Our plant manager, the night after the fire, sat us down and said, we're going to do this, and here's what we're going to do. We changed our scheduling, so we ran 24/7 operation on one press that we did have.
We were shipping product within 2 days out to our customers from warehouse supply and from new material being produced. He contacted the manufacturer in Italy, and believe it or not, we got one of these custom-made presses installed and shipped over here from Italy in 4 months' time. We didn't lose a beat, we really didn't. And our sister companies in Italy manufactured whatever we couldn't make to supply to our customers. But it was all his mindset, his approach to say, we've got this, don't worry. And even through the hurdles and the hiccups and the problems, he kept encouraging us. That sense of belief in the team to do this was really gonna make it happen, and it did. We really didn't lose a beat. So we're very lucky and very fortunate. So I want you to think about how you can show your team that you believe in them. And a great way to do this is a sticky note activity. We have a team meeting, sit down with a pad of sticky notes, and have each person write a nice, positive, encouraging note to the person to the right and to the person left, and share those notes. And you will be amazed at some of the things that transpires in the room when that does happen. It's pretty fascinating to see, actually. They also, positive leaders confront, transform, and remove negativity, right? This is not saying everything's going to be wonderful all the time. It can't be. This is the real world. So we've got to confront, transform, and remove it sometimes. And there are ways we can do that. There comes in a couple of ways. One is complaining, I think, and the other is what I call energy vampires. So let me ask you a question. Why do people complain? Why do you think they complain about things?
We're trying to find a kindred spirit.
Trying to find a kindred spirit, yeah. They want someone to buddy up with them and complain with them. What else?
You want to be heard.
It's easy. They want to be heard, absolutely, right? They want to be listened to. They've got something to tell us, and they think this is the way to get our attention. What else?
They're not happy.
They're not happy. They're just discontent. Some of them are chronic complainers. They'll complain about anything, right? Today's dessert, oh, you didn't have enough selection for us. Sorry, didn't like that, right? The first factory I worked in, we used to do this massive Christmas buffet for employees for the factory. It had everything on it. I mean, there was everything you could possibly imagine. And I had only been there a couple of months. And this one woman, she had, at the end of the line, she was done. She had 2 pieces of lettuce on her plate. And I said, Glenda, you're not hungry? And there's nothing there I like. And I found out pretty quickly, no matter what we put on that buffet, she wouldn't have been happy. It just wouldn't have happened, right? Fear, people complain because they're afraid of change, right? I'm fearful of what's gonna happen. What am I gonna do? Am I gonna lose my job? Am I gonna be able to do the new job, etc. So a lot of reasons people complain. And if you're complaining, then you're definitely not leading, because a leader has to remove that from their vocabulary and figure out ways to get around it. No mindless complaining rule created by a healthcare facility or company years ago. They had tremendous success with this, and what they basically said is, you can't complain mindlessly. If you're going to complain, you've got to come forth with a solution. And I was at UT maybe 6 months ago with a fairly high-level leader, and she was giving a talk about some things, and she said, I have this no complaining rule. I thought, music to my ears. She said, here's what it is. They can vent to me once about anything, but the second time they come and they vent about the same thing, they've got to have some solutions or suggestions or answers to move it forward, okay? And then all legitimate complaints come with solutions. So just an option to think about for your workplace or your group. When I say energy vampire, what do you think of? What does that signifier say to you? Suck the life right out of you, out of the team, out of the company, out of the organization, out of the group. Absolutely, they suck the life right out of you. So what we've got to do, we want to run from them, right? I worked at a place and we had a guy there who was definitely an energy vampire. When he would walk in the room, people would leave, in all honesty. It got to the point where like, they don't want to be around this guy. And one day we're in the lunchroom and we're sitting there having lunch and he walked in, and fairly quickly, most of the folks in the lunchroom finished up their lunch and left. And he said to me, he said, I'm starting to wonder, he said, like when I come in, they leave. I said, well, let me sit down and talk to you if I can talk to you honestly and candidly. And I told him what was going on. He said, really, me? I never thought of that. I said, yeah, absolutely. And he did change his behavior, his demeanor quite a bit. So they're out there. But sometimes it's your boss, sometimes it's a coworker, sometimes it's an external, and sometimes it's a direct report. How might these conversations sound if we wanted to help transform one of these energy vampires in each of these situations, right? how might they sound? So what I'd like to do is this row of tables here, at your table, talk about what if it's your boss that's the energy vampire? How might you have that discussion with him or her, okay? These tables here, if it's a coworker or peer, how might that conversation sound? And for sake of time, these tables here, if it's a direct report, someone on your team that reports to you, how might that conversation sound? And then we'll kind of share back real quick. So take a few minutes. Boss, coworker, direct report. Take a few minutes and see what you come up with. Yes. All right, let's just hear from one or two tables really quickly, because I know we're pressing up against the clock here. But let's hear from this side here on the boss. Any ideas how you might talk to your boss if it's he or she's an energy vampire?
So I would say that I would ask my boss to give me feedback and then ask for the opportunity to give some to him.
Ask my boss to give some feedback and ask him or her to give some ask for them to be able to give feedback to them. Okay?
And explain to them how I experienced their leadership.
Okay, and explain how that leadership was experienced by you from that person. Good one, okay. Hey boss, you know, this morning, you were really not yourself. Is everything okay? I've never seen that side of you before. I'm really worried about you. The team is concerned about you, etc. Okay, just an idea, just a thought. How about this row here? Anybody? Please.
The things we talked about is that sometimes you have to present the facts or how that person is impacting the other people in a straightforward, frank, non-attacking way.
Okay. Yeah, present their impact to the team, what they're doing to the team, straightforward, not inflammatory, etc. Right? Yeah. Another is, hey, that's not our culture here. Remember the very first day when you interviewed, we talked about what our culture was. We don't tolerate that. We don't expect that. We don't need that, etc. Or I'm worried about you. Hey, what's going on? I don't see the usual self that you are. How about on this row down here? Direct reports. You've got to confront them. How does that sound? What do I say?
Smile.
Smile. I love it, yeah. Yeah, no, it has to be addressed, because if it's left unaddressed, that sends the message to everyone else that that's okay, right? So we've got to definitely deal with that and address it. All right, I know we're up against the clock, so we're gonna wrap it up. I have other resources and materials. If you're interested, just email me. I can email them out to you, it's not a problem. I'd love to do that for you guys. Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate your time. Thank you. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, I guess there's time for a few. If there's anything, I'd love to, yeah.
All the positivity in the world is great, but cash is really what employees want.
Okay.
How do we find, do we find that companies try to be positive and then not do the things that they should?
Well, it's funny, people say money, 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 right? They say, I need more money, I need a bigger paycheck. How long do you think an increase lasts for the average employee? Seriously.
Yeah.
When they get a check, maybe 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and pretty quickly, they have forgotten what that old paycheck used to look like if they're already living to that new level, so to speak, right? And there's a lot of data that supports, especially post-COVID, they're not just looking for money. They're looking for flexibility. They want to be heard. In fact, SHRM, National HR Society, did a study at the end of 2022 across the country, lots of industries, and there were 4 things they said that employees they wanted. One was that we want to be listened to, we want to be heard, we want flexibility, not just flexibility with scheduling, but flexibility in a lot of things. hybrid, remote, scheduling, et cetera. I don't like the other two, but they were right up there too. Culture, along those lines, yes, yeah, culture was big, right? But it's not, money's not the number one, believe it or not, for most, unless they are grossly underpaid. If they know in the market they should be making more somewhere else, then it is a bigger factor. What else? What other questions? Yeah,
How do you deal with a habitually negative person?
habitually negative, right? I'm gonna talk to them and say, that doesn't fit here, right? If two things will happen, right? And this is old school, but they will ship up or shape out. Shape up or ship out, right? If they understand that it's so uncomfortable for them to be part of this team, sooner or later, they're gonna get the message. And if they don't, as a leader, I've got to have that conversation with that person to say, you know, I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe this is not a good fit or good match for you. Has something changed since you started here? Whatever it might be, but I can't tolerate X, Y, and Z behavior, as this man said over here, because if I do, it sends a message to everybody that that's okay, and nobody wants to come to work. And if I don't address it, the other folks around him or her, they're gonna start looking elsewhere and leaving me because of that. What else? Thank you guys very much, appreciate it.